Constant and never-ending improvement. God, sometimes we wait to a down market before we start doing these things, but we should be doing this when markets are down or up. Constant and never-ending improvement. Real quick, any areas that you guys feel like you need to improve on? Anybody willing to share? Do you have any areas that you need to improve on? Patience is a big one for me. That's something I'm consistently working on. Marshall?
Discipline and schedule.
Discipline and schedule. That's another one for me. I need to add that one on too. That's a good one though. What are you doing to work on that?
I have an accountability partner now that I call every Monday and tell them what I'm going to do for the week, and they have to report back in the following Monday. That's
actually a very good idea. I've never thought about that. That's good. Anybody else? Any areas that you just feel like you need to improve on, and if you don't mind sharing?
Marketing my business, not just the properties, but marketing my business and being accountable to it. Just similar to that is a spreadsheet that has how I use my time, doing a time log as well as a score based on what I do. So I give myself points, and I play a game, I make it a game.
And I'm sure we all have areas that we need to improve on. And if you don't have areas that you think you need to improve on, then you definitely need to go look again. Because we all have areas that we can improve on, I promise you. Personally, for me, I constantly want to learn, grow, and develop my abilities. Constantly. Constantly. I read about 2 or 3 books a month. I probably read about 50 magazines a month. I'm constantly online reading. I'm constantly going to forums. And I don't go to forums and conferences and events just because they're real estate related either. I go to things just to learn about them, whatever they may be. Because it's not going to do me any good just to know everything I can about real estate. You want to broaden your horizons a little bit. But I like to call it declaring war on yourself. I read about this guy years ago, and I thought this was a phenomenal concept, to declare war on yourself. And that just means that you are going to constantly look for those areas that you can improve upon, that you can always push and get a little bit better, that tomorrow can always be better than what today was. And that was something my grandfather constantly believed in. He constantly believed if you made a B today, you can make an A next time. If you make an A this time, then you ought to be tutoring everybody in the class next time. If you tutoring everybody in the class, you ought to be teaching the class next time. If you teach in the class, you ought to be running the school next year. I mean, and it was always a constant little push to do better, to improve, to develop my abilities. But sometimes we wait to down markets before we start picking up books, before we start going to conferences, before we start networking with our peers and other people, our colleagues in the industry. We wait till things get bad before we take action. Things don't have to be bad. We can do these things when they're good, and we can constantly be trying to improve ourselves then. You want to commit to thriving instead of just surviving. I mean, successful people understand that it's not just good enough to survive. I mean, you actually want to thrive. But you know, I'm going to tell you, the thing that I think that slows people down most time, we don't always see the improvement as soon as we want to see it, right? Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And we as humans, we have definitely bought into the idea of instant gratification, right? Things should just come right away. If they don't come, we just want to give up sometimes because we just don't see it happening. So I would say you got to get away from, stop believing on instant gratification because it's not going to happen. It takes time for these things to happen. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story that I've always thought was intriguing. The average baseball player, do I have any baseball fans in here? Okay, a couple. The average baseball player will have a batting average of 250, or 1 hit for every 4 times they come to bat, right? Now, a great baseball player, according to this book I read, will have a batting average of 300. Which means 3 hits for every 10 times that they come to bat, okay? Now, at the end of a season, only a dozen players will achieve a 300 batting average, roughly. And these are the guys that get the multi-million-dollar contracts and the endorsements, and you see them on TV all the time, and they make all the money. Now, this means an average player will hit 5 balls out of 20 And a great one would have hit 6 balls out of 20. So the difference between being an average player and being a great player is just 1 hit out of every 20. It doesn't take a lot to go from being good to being great. If you'll just keep pushing. If you'll just keep pushing yourself along. So just remember that. Commit to constant and never-ending improvement. Declare war on yourself. Commit to thriving instead of surviving. And stop believing on instant gratification.